This video outlines things to consider when looking for a journal to publish in. We'll cover a range of topics including types of publications, copyright options, and how to compare journals when deciding which one to submit to. If you would like to skip ahead to a specific topic, please see the description box below for timings. But we'll make a start by looking at different types of publications. The first thing to consider when selecting a journal to publish in is the type of publication you are going to write. For example, is it an article, a review, or a case study? This will influence the kind of journals you will be looking at. You also need to consider any publishing requirements you have before selecting a journal to submit to. Publishing requirements could come from co-authors, so make sure to communicate with them about requirements or opinions on publishing when looking for journals. You may also have funder requirements for publications if your research is funded. It's increasingly common for funders to require works to be made available open access. Publishing under an open access copyright model means your publication is made freely available online to all readers with few or no restrictions on reuse. This enables your work to be read by a wider audience. You can achieve open access a few different ways. The two main routes to making your work open access are known as the gold or diamond route and the green route. The gold or diamond route to open access is where your work is published in an open access journal, meaning it is immediately open access on publication. In most cases, gold open access publishing involves an article processing charge, whereby the author or funder pays a certain amount of money to make the work available open access. In some situations, you may be able to make your work open access through this route in what is known as a hybrid journal. Hybrid journals are still behind a paywall, but authors have the option of paying an article processing charge to make their individual paper available open access. The university has deals with journal publishers to cover these publication fees as part of our subscription package to their content. These deals are known as read and publish deals, and they effectively make open access publishing free for the author. You can find out more about these deals on our open access publishing page. Diamond Open Access also involves publishing your work in open access journals, but in Diamond OA there is no fee involved for the author or the reader, so it is free to publish in Diamond Open Access journals. The second main route to publishing open access is the green route, which is also known as self-archiving. This is where an author publishes their work in any kind of journal, but then deposits a version of this work in a repository, such as the University of Essex Institutional Repository. In many cases, journals will ask authors to delay sharing the full access to their work in a repository, meaning the full text cannot be read for a certain amount of time. This is known as an embargo period and usually ranges from 0 to 24 months. If you are using this route to comply with funder requirements to make your work open access, be aware that sometimes their requirements prevent you from adding embargo periods. For more information on open access publishing, get in touch with us in the library. Whether you're publishing your work open access or not, there are certain considerations you need to give to copyright. But don't worry, copyright doesn't need to be scary. Some important copyright questions to ask when publishing are: who owns the copyright to the work, and what is the license of the work? These questions are relevant at various stages. For images, figures, and graphs used in your work, if you have not created them yourself, you need to check who owns the copyright and what license they are under. Make sure to give correct attribution for any work you have included in your own that you do not own the copyright for, and check that you are following the license terms the owner has given their work. The version of record, or VOR, is the final version of your work that will be published. If you're publishing in an open access journal, you usually retain the copyright on this version. The same goes for the AAM when you are publishing open access. In these cases, you will choose, or the journal may tell you, which open access license you can give your work. If you are publishing in a subscription journal, you will likely sign the copyright over to the journal. Again, you can use Sherpa Romeo to check what you can do with the different versions of your work, but it's important to read the journal's copyright agreements before agreeing to anything. If you ever need any help with this, you can always get in touch with us in the library. We have discussed some of the more intricate things to consider when publishing your work in a journal, but now let's focus on finding a journal that suits your work. The most important thing is that you find a suitable academic home for your work. A good place to start is with the references in your paper. The journals you have cited in your paper illustrate where the conversation around your topic is already taking place. Writing academic articles is all about contributing to this ongoing conversations, so those journals will be a good place to start consider submitting your work to. If the conversation is already happening in these journals, it's also likely your audience will already be there. To properly establish this, you need to think about who your audience is and what journals they are reading. In many cases, this could be with same journals as in your references, but it could be different, so do give it some thought. Another way to find a potential journal to submit to or learn more about one you're considering is to use Scopus sources. When you access Scopus sources, you can search for a specific journal title or can browse for potential journals by using subject area filters. You can also select other filters to limit results further, for example by filtering to open access journals. You can view the different metrics for journals you are considering, such as their cite scores and the percentage of articles within these journals that are cited. If you want to compare a few journals, you can use the Compare Sources tool. Remember, when choosing a journal to publish in, journal metrics should not be relied upon to make a decision, but they can help. The Directory of Open Access Journals, or DOAJ, is another good place to find a journal you can publish in. This database only shows open access journals, and like with Scopus sources, you can search for a specific journal or can browse by subject areas. You can also use filters to limit your results. One particularly useful filter is to limit the results to journals depending on their article processing charges. Once you have identified a journal to write an article for, there are a few tools that are important to check before submitting. As mentioned earlier, you need to check the publisher's copyright and self-archiving policies. You can do this using Sherpa Romeo. If your research is funded, you need to check your funder requirements. You can use Sherpa Juliet to do this. You can also check funder and journal compliance by using Sherpa Fact. Another thing to be aware of when choosing a journal to publish in is the possibility of it being a predatory journal, otherwise known as a fake journal. These are open access journals run by predatory publishers who exist only to exploit researchers' work. They do this by asking for a publication fee, but do not have proper peer review process in place or proper editorial boards. Predatory journals can often be identified by unprofessional-looking websites, over-flattering emails asking for submissions, short turnaround times on apparent peer review, and poor quality papers in their journals. Think, Check, Submit is a checklist that has been created to help you evaluate and check journals before you submit your work. By using this checklist, it will help to ensure the journal you have chosen is legitimate. Remember to ask those around you for help and advice when publishing. Your supervisor, colleagues, or friends in similar subject areas to you may have experience of publishing the same journal you're looking at, or could recommend a journal in your subject area that they've had a good experience with. You can also always get in touch with us in the library to get a second opinion on a journal, or to help you choose between some different options. Before writing and submitting your paper, make sure you have read through the important information on the journal website. This includes the scope of the journal and the writing style. Make sure your work fits the journal from the start of the process. This will make it more likely that your paper will be accepted and save you time in the long run. The journal website is also a good indicator of its legitimacy. The golden rule when submitting your manuscript is to make sure you only submit to one journal at a time. While it might seem tempting to submit to more than one journal in order to increase your chance of publication, if you are doing this, you won't have ensured your article is tailored to the journal you're submitting to. It's like with a job application. Each one needs to be tailored to the job you're applying to. Submitting to more than one journal at a time can cause problems down the road with copyright if you are accepted by more than one. This publishing checklist highlights the main things to think about when preparing to submit to a journal. Think about your audience and subject area to begin to focus on journals where the conversation around your subject is happening. Think about funder compliance if your research is funded and consider different routes to open access. Narrow down your list of potential journals using databases such as Scopus sources or DOAJ and use Think, Check, Submit to gain confidence in the journal's legitimacy. Investigate the journal website, paying particular attention to the scope and writing style of the journal. Write your manuscript tailoring it to the journal you have chosen. Then submit your paper to just one journal and one journal only. Thank you for watching this video on finding a journal to publish in. If you have any questions, please do book a one-to-one session or get in touch with us at libline@essex.ac.uk.